Greetings Earthlings, welcome to another episode of A Day in the Life. Today we have Project Nameless. It's a model year 2013. Yes, 2013 Toyota Land Cruiser, the one with the V8 1 Uniform Romeo dash Foxtrot Echo engine. First things first, lots of housekeeping going on. See that guy over there? Coolant bottle in the engine bay told us something which the Guardian later confirmed. We have had a coolant leak. That leak usually stems from what we call the valley plate. So the valley plate is, because this is a V engine, there's usually, for other car makers, you have a hot V where the turbines sit in between here. But for this, since it's a naturally aspirated engine, it's just the intake with the crankcase and other paraphernalia that sits in there. So that plate usually has a seal on it which goes bad and then ends up spilling coolant back at there. So typically what you will see is, because there's a bunch of things in the way here, you won't see the actual leak, but you'll see its manifestations behind the bell housing and down below on the transmission or around the transmission oil pan area. Yeah, so hoping this is a short video because my hands have been full. It's a lot of work, but Toyota makes it a little bit easier, unlike the Germans, to just have this easy to remove. And as you can see, we're going to lose quite some coolant, even though we did drain most of it out. We'll filter that and see whether we can reuse some of it. But for this that comes out here, this vehicle was attacked by vermin, which means there was a lot of crud all over the area. I'll probably share some images of that later. But yeah, you will suffer some significant coolant loss if you do this, so just be ready. So we'll take that out, shut the seal, clean up the area, reseal it because I don't think there's damage. And also there's usually a joiner hose here that goes to the rest of the plumbing, the rest of the cooling circuit. So it also has O-rings both ends. Check those as well. So let's get this open and going. Then we can probably come back here when things are a little bit cleaner and tidier. We did drain the radiator, but in as much as we do that, the valley still holds quite a bit, and so it's good to save, it's good to protect. That's about 10 liters that we'll filter and check whether it's still good to use. So the reason this guy usually leaks is primarily down to the sealant going bad. So this sealant, it goes slightly over the edge when it is squished down, but it hardens over time. See that? It hardens over time, so it gets to degrade. So we have to clean that out, shave it off, wipe it down, and then we'll apply a fresh bead. I don't think this requires replacement. I know a lot of Western shops will say replace the whole thing, but that's just wasteful if you ask me. So we'll go clean it up nicely because, like I said, there was a vermin attack, so they ate up all the foam paddings around the engine and they left all here, so that's why this is all so cruddy. So we'll clean that, shave off the beads, and then come back here to reinstall. I did look at the O-rings here. They look okay. Let's just see whether we can get that joiner pipe out. I might need extra force, but yeah, I'll get it out, inspect those O-rings, probably just replace them because O-rings are cheap and cheerful, and the effort of getting here does not warrant us not replacing them. Yep, so that's it for now. Let's get back to it. We are looking much nicer, and so I think it's almost time to reinstall. We just need to clean up that mating surface with some emery paper, wipe it down nicely, and then prepare it for mating. So something else I wanted to tell you guys, because this is in a hot zone of the engine, these guys usually get very brittle. These anchor points for the cable management, you see them everywhere. You see them everywhere in the harnesses, and typically they break. Anytime you touch them, they'll break. So what we usually recommend is just cut out the internals and then put in a zip tie. Once you snug up the cable, zip it and then snip the tail. Yep, so that should be okay. Easy peasy, easy does it. Next thing, in the valley itself, there's no way you can get the plate out without putting some fluid into the bolt holes, because you have to remove the bolts, the fasteners, in order to get the plate out. And when you do that, coolant will always get in. Remember, fluids don't compress, so you don't want to hydro lock your fasteners when you're reinstalling. So always make sure either you get compressed air, blow them out. But typically what I do, because I need to vacuum anyway, I just use my turbocharged vacuum cleaner to suck up all the dirt. So we're going to do that, and then I'll show you the next thing to also do as well. It'll be noisy, so you won't hear me. So after that's done, you typically get some kitchen towels. Any sort of high strength tissue will work, but just showing you this as an example. So you twist it. I need 2 hands for this, but I'm just going to demonstrate real quick. Twist it and then dab it into the holes to get everything. You could do this, or you could also use a cotton bud. Problem is with cotton buds, you kind of use a lot of it, so just because you have to use one for each hole to make sure it's completely dry. So yeah, dip, make sure it's dry, make sure the surface is clean for your silicone or sealant bead. And then of course remember, because the the crankcase also comes atop it, also make sure you clean the 2 lines. Is that guy, and there's this guy. So make sure you clean them. This is for DIY. If you're a techie, you already know what I'm talking about. So anyway, this makes for fun content, so why not? Alright, so from this point on, we'll just reassemble everything, recheck. Please remember to reinstall your knock sensors. I know you cannot forget to do this, but they are not specific to whichever chamber. They are standard Bosch equipment, I believe, and they go anywhere. Like if you took one from this side, you don't need to return it exactly there. You can take it anywhere else. The only thing you need to exercise caution with is the connectors, because they are labeled or marked differently. So one side has a black connectors, one side has gray. The reason for that is the ECM is monitoring both banks for knock. So one knock sensor monitors the 2 rear pistons. The other monitors the 2 forward pistons. So basically it's monitoring fore and aft, and that way it knows if there's pinging or knock, it will figure out which chamber is doing it, then very quickly try to adjust timing or injection, and then watch for change. If there's no change, it will ramp up whatever changes it needs to make to the injection or ignition algorithm, and then that's how it knows. So knock sensors can go anywhere, but the wiring has to go to the specific ones, and you can't get it wrong because they are labeled and the harness goes to those specific sensors based on length. So you can't pull, for example, the rear left all the way to the front right. You just can't do it physically. Yep, so that gets sorted, reinstall, put everything back, and hope the engine starts. I'm kidding, it will start. So anyway, let's get done. If you're service crew and you're watching this, you know the saying, since we're here, why not? So since we're here, why not? We've already sealed the valley pan. knock sensors are back in place, tidied up a little bit. Sue me if the rest of the place is not as clean as I may have wished, but we are here for a targeted job, and so we are going to do that. So if you compare the mating surface here to this other side, you can clearly see that we have done some work on this side. Reason that is important is because as the engine works with, over time, crud builds up on these surfaces in between the gasket and whatever other surface is there. So I'm using my, what I want to call a scalpel, to just shave off the rough dirt. Maybe I can show you here a little bit. Just shave off the rough dirt like that, and then I come in a little bit later with my sugar cube, basically emery paper wrapped on something firm. This is a piece of foam that usually comes in the backs of your cars in the trunk to hold up the spare wheel. They're pretty firm and they give good surface. So you cut it clean and then just basically rub. The idea is not to remove material. The idea is just to smooth it out and take off the dirt, basically the dirt lines. Yeah, and it works pretty well because this is such a deep section of the engine. You don't want to have to come back for any reason. So whatever needs attention, you do it as and when you can. Yep, so it's time for the PCV to go back on, and crankcase ventilation, that is. I'll probably not clean it up as much because ain't nobody got time for that, but I did pressure test it and it's okay, so we can reinstate it back into active duty. Okay, next up is the intake manifold after all this goes up. Ladies and gentlemen, we walked into the night and it's time to close up. Well, we are mostly back together as an engine, so all good, baby, all good. Did some little housekeeping here and there, missing clamps, weak vacuum hoses. I refreshed some of them, replaced some fasteners like this one. That's an Allen 8mm, because Toyota doesn't give you this from factory. Lubricated some of the weather rings on the connectors, because when they're too dry sometimes they can be sticky, and when they're sticky you can break the connectors. Checked the air element, marked it for quality control pass. That'll be good for some time. And now it's time to throw a spanner in the works because of this guy. So this is your throttle body, and as from factory they come with the coolant piped through it, like these hose pots you see here. It's one hose but two hose pots. They share the cooling circuit with the rest of the stuff. For example, that comes in through here, goes down to the rest of the head. As you saw when the manifold was off, there's a lot of coolant galleries going everywhere. So the reason I've done this is because this is a vehicle used in the tropics. In my region, we are close enough to the equator, which means we don't have frozen temps, and that means this car will never see sub-zero temperatures. The reason this is done is because it is to prevent the throttle plate from icing over. So when you have cold air coming through, maybe you're at partial throttle and there's cold air coming through, just like on the wings of a plane, it can build ice and then prevent it from closing back up, which means you will be at whatever level of openness that the throttle plate was at the time it froze over. That is why they pipe coolant here. And yes, it's called coolant, but it will still be hotter than your icicles building up on the plate. So there's no need for that here because we will never see sub-zero temps. So I've just bypassed it, put a hose loop there, clamped and safe, so coolant will continue to flow through the rest of the circuit except this. And it can very easily be reversed in case there are naysayers about why we do this. It's just unnecessary because something I've seen that happens is when the throttle body is hot, remember you have emissions control dumping other things back into the intake. So for example, the crankcase vents from both banks there come to this T-piece, they join up and they go back to the airbox. you have fuel vapor venting coming through, so all those things with time will build up sludge because there's always some blowback from the pistons coming back up through the intake. That's how you get your throttle body to get dirty, which we are going to clean and calibrate and adapt it afresh. Yep, so long story short, we're done. Should be ready to run. I'll leave the engine to sit just so that the sealant can bead and cure properly. Then we'll fill up coolant sometime tomorrow. Maybe I can do it now and check the levels later on when it is time. Right now we're at about 3/4 of the bottle, so should be good. Anyway, this went well, relatively. Nothing broke, thankfully, and we should stop losing coolant. And actually, on that note, let me save the Guardian and toss this because they probably wouldn't need it again. Also need to do a tool audit because we don't want tools being left, especially on the wiper cowling area. If you're staff and you like leaving tools there, sometimes they get forgotten. So tool audit, we also check everything we took off the car, make sure that everything goes back. Whatever was replaced like that also needs to be logged and audited. And that'll be it. I guess this one ends here. As always, if you have been, thank you for watching. Remember to be good, be different, be nice. And the car in front is always a Toyota. Till the next one, peace.